left you an altar in the echo of goodbye. I left you a place for my last pain to die. What remains of me you carry with you. My only torment is what you put you through. Do you think I'd curse you to live through this hell? You laid me to rest, laid my pain down as well. Place this one thing upon a pyre, because you love me, give into the fire. If you forgive me, there's no need to pray. I left you an altar, burn our guilt away. I was my own person, let me choose for me. This is too much for us, oh please set us free. I know you miss me, but I am not this pain. We can't outlive it until you give it away. If I was standing here, would you let us start anew? Please bury this, release it from you. Place this one thing upon our pyre, because you love me, give it to the fire. If you forgive me, there's no need to pray. I left you an altar, burn our guilt away. Maybe there's a place where we will meet again. Let's not chance it, now's as good as then. It's okay to leave some and keep it with you. This altar will burn until it's all consumed. Place this one thing upon a pyre, because you love me, give it to the fire. If you forgive me, there's no need to pray. I left you an altar, burn our guilt away.
That was just very casual. There's an actual church behind it. Anybody hear me yet? Anybody hear me yet? Give me a shout out if you can hear me. Otherwise, I'll just keep going and pretend. Hi, I'm ExmoJoe from the Church of Horror. You'll see that our podcast name is Hellfire Agency. I forgot to switch that over to the sigil. Well, I make mistakes. The modus operandi here at the potentially criminal enterprise of the Church of Horror, which is a spiritual community for godless people, is we'll do better next time. And we always do, with very few exceptions. Hi. I'm going to pull up my sermon notes now. I wanted to tell you guys a story, something that's been weighing on me for a while. I've been saying for a while that I have a godless sermon about grief that I have wanted to connect with people on for a while. So we're doing that now. It comes with some good advice. It comes with a very heartfelt story that we're going to lead off with. And I'm going to give you a warning. It's also going to involve talking about people who take their own lives. So if that's not something you can handle right now, I understand. I hope to see you in the future. I hope that you do some healing. This is going to involve talking about healing from not only the grief of our own loss in life, but also grieving ourselves in a way. So this is Give It to the Fun. You know, salvation is ridiculous. And I'm going to have to come back to that, but I want that to be really clear. Atonement is ridiculous. It's silly. And frankly, it's toxic. It's hurtful. In 2020, I lost my best friend. His name was Paul. And I lost him to the pandemic. And I was an absolute wreck. Not just for days, but frankly for years. And he was a Methodist, whereas I am an ex-Mormon and an atheist. And I had to process his passing a lot differently than he would have processed mine. And it may seem strange to say and strange to consider, but I'm actually somewhat grateful that because I grieved him instead of him me, he'll never have to do that. I wasn't great with grief, to be honest with you. You see, Paul, he was my best friend and he was like a brother to me, but he was 20 years older than me. When I met him, I was not quite 30, and he was entering a stage in life where it seemed like every week he lost somebody, especially men his age. That's about the age in America where men's hearts fail them, literally speaking. And I met him at this time in his life where they were passing away, and his grief was extremely hard. I don't think I really witnessed grief in that way. You see, it was like every time that he lost someone, he deconstructed. Where I only really had to do that once and for a very long stretch, and maybe in different pieces and chapters. Paul deconstructed his whole faith in God, his faith in heaven, in afterlife, the existence of good and evil. He deconstructed all of that every single time. And then had to reconstruct his hope that he was going to go to heaven and that he'd see somebody there that now he had to say goodbye to. It was exhausting. And frankly, I worry that it was unhealthy. But I loved him like a brother. And when he passed, I cried all the time. For 2 years, we couldn't even bury him because of social distancing and then just the impracticality of getting everybody together. When we finally did get together, I witnessed as his whole Christian community, those Christian members of his family who would who would grieve him, showed up and rallied around one another. And it was lovely for them. By that time, I was already deep into my healing. And it wasn't all of a sudden, it was a little bit at a time. It still is a little bit at a time. There's still things that every once in a while I would turn. I'll find myself turning to the place where Paul used to sit behind me while we would make videos together. We were business partners. And he would tell me, I would stop and think and say, Paul, are you seeing this? I mean, do you see this? It's crazy what we can do. but I know he's not there. Recently a friend reached out for support as he was grieving the death of his son, who took his own life after leaving the service. Years later, his grief is still so hard that it consumes his life. In the course of the last 6 years, I've learned that we must forgive the dead, and in so doing, we forgive ourselves. Forgiveness, you see, is not forgiveness is a skill, not a transaction. It's Christianity, it's organized religion that makes us think that forgiveness is something that happens once and then you let it go. But it's just not. Forgiveness takes as long as it takes. And that's why we appeal to God to forgive us. But there is no God. And there is no salvation. There is no atonement. In fact, there's not even really the past. It's a strange thing to consider. But our construct of the past is really a complete fiction. It's a total lie. It is what you remember about something that happened. And sure, that thing happened, but it's not happening now. Only your memory is happening now. Doesn't mean it's not real. Doesn't mean it's not important. Doesn't mean that you don't have to heal it. It means that once you heal it, it's really gone. You don't go back and do over. There are no do-overs. There's only you and the work. We reach out for God because our own world feels so enormous. Our loves, our losses, our private histories, they are our own world. They are our own universe. Is it even real? You might ask yourself. It's as real as any universe you ever interacted with. How real is that? Because you don't exist purely in the real world, not the mind, not your consciousness. Your consciousness is inside your own world and it never gets out of there. You live and die inside that world. And healing something to remove it from that world, it's as real as magic. It's the closest thing to magic that there is. The past time out here in the real world, whatever that is, whether we are just brains in a jar on God's desk and he's hiding from us and thinking this is a great joke, or whether it's just what it seems like, the happenstance of a magnificent universe that seems impressive to us, but is doing the only thing it ever does, which is to exist or to not exist. Now, chances are that nobody taught you how to forgive yourself when you were a child, but all of us once were children. And when you are a child, you borrow somebody else's forgiveness, or you borrow somebody else's judgment. But we learn pretty early, don't we, how to judge other people. We judge them by the way they dress. We judge them by the sound of their voice. We judge them by the choices that they make. And you see, that's why salvation for me is really lazy. It's because it makes it easy to appeal to that childlike sense of ourselves that says that you need to go to the one that is offended and ask them for forgiveness. But there are things for which people feel guilty, for which they are victimless crimes. You looked at something dirty on the internet. You said a word when you were by yourself that you thought you shouldn't have, that you would hope nobody had heard you say that. Or you found yourself, whatever that may be. The process of growing and becoming better people is a process where guilt will come up naturally, where you do things, you feel things, you think things that make you feel guilty. And very much like having to bury a loved one. You got to bury that person, that version of you in the past. You can't take it with you. They say that, that people don't really change, but it's not true. People change. Everybody's capable of it. You, me, everyone. So you have to remember that the dead cannot absolve you, and they don't need to. As far as anyone knows, there is no afterlife. There's no audience watching you. Guilt aimed at the departed reaches no one, and it erodes the only person still able to do good in the world, you. Grief is your teacher, and shame the destroyer. Guilt will just happen. Examining what you did wrong can reveal something true about yourself, something true about the world. That lesson is the whole point of that pain. But when our brains hold on to the pain from the past, holds on without any hope of improving ourselves for the future, then it turns toxic. That's shame. And you have to release it. Other people's shame and yours too. Guilt teaches what's sacred, but shame, it's the aftermath when it's not useful. When it's not useful anymore, it's not doing you any good. It's not doing them any good. And self-forgiveness, that is a practice. Now, you can call it ritual, you can call it processing, you can call it just practice. But everybody needs some time, a special place, a special moment in time where you can burn that guilt away. Many of you who have been with the Church of Korihor for a while know that I have struggled greatly with existential problems of my own accord. And my own deconstruction from Mormonism particularly, and Christianity more generally, was one in which I came to realize that Christianity and the hope of an afterlife, the hope of salvation, made my existential crisis worse, not better. That while maybe, yes, to some people, it gives them great solace to think that Christ is on the other end of that divide, and they will become better for their grief. They will become better for their pain and their shame. They will be better if they appeal to the authority of some being they believe once drowned the entire world because they got sassy with it. Not just the humans, but animals too. And apparently all the dinosaurs, well, now we're finding out with the exception of these birds. Don't know if you can hear birds. We're outside here in Virginia, and it's beautiful. Hot, but beautiful. To appeal to that same being to forgive you for even the slightest of offenses which you are told and made to believe will bar you from the entry into God's kingdom forever. It's got to be one of the most toxic and frankly counterproductive processes I've ever heard of. Sure, you have to be able to forgive yourself, and you have to be able to forgive others. And if Jesus is the way for that, if Jesus really is the door to that forgiveness for you, well, frankly, I'm sorry to say it so boldly, but I pity you. I've been in that place. I empathize. Because the fact of the matter is, you're looking for forgiveness that isn't real. It doesn't exist. And you're looking for forgiveness on the part of somebody who can create and destroy your entire world. This is why I say, I think that we godless people, we atheists and agnostics, we're better at grief than people of faith. I think we have a more difficult road, yes, but I also think that we have a road that's actually doing the work. And for me, that starts with understanding that you go to a source when you pray to God for forgiveness, when you pray that God will help you to be reunited with a loved one who has passed on. You go to a source that can make and can destroy your entire world. My friend, that source is you. Your world is made by you in every instant. Your future is made by you. Being responsible is not reaching out and saying, Lord Jesus, save me, whom in the gall of bitterness. It's not real. And appealing to it, it's just a lazy way that charlatans can get a hold of you and extract money, obedience, maybe even subjugation, maybe even sex. It's happened since time immemorial. We're witnessing it all the time now. This is the way that charlatans work. They tell you that you can dunk in this water, you can take this cracker, you can take this sip of wine, and you can be reunited with your loved ones after you die, and everything that you did is forgiven, and nothing that you will ever do in the future will truly bar you because God's grace, because blah, blah, blah. It's not real. It's not going to happen. You don't need it to happen. The power to get the forgiveness of somebody who controls your entire future, who controls your entire life, it's all in you. And you can't do anything about what happened in the past. Things that you did, things that somebody else did, they're gone. They don't exist, not even in an intangible way. Inside your mind, you have this memory of a thing you did or of a thing somebody else did. And you have these memories from your abusers. You have these memories from people who are strangers to you. And because our mind wants to hold on to the past, because this is the survival skill of our species, to remember and to apply and to put new skills on top of things, you don't have the natural skill to forgive yourself. Nobody does. It's not natural. Someone has to teach you. Somebody has to do it along the way. And guess what? If churches were teaching people, if God and his churches and his charlatans were teaching people how to forgive themselves, they'd be out of a job, wouldn't they? They'd be out of this gravy train. There'd be no money left. That's the way it works. And so I'm only interested now in saying, what is the real work then? What is the hard work? What does it mean to process somebody else's choice to leave this world? What else does it look like to have somebody who wouldn't leave this world, who would stay longer, but disease took them, but an accident took them, but sheer happenstance and circumstance beyond anybody's control took them away from you? How do you forgive? How do you forgive God? How do you forgive the world? How do you forgive people who are of a different political persuasion and it caused you to lose someone? How do you forgive yourself? Even for loving, for putting yourself in this position where you could be hurt like this because of a car accident, because of cancer, because of suicide. You have to do it because you're either growing from that pain or it's cutting you down. You're either becoming better and becoming a better person and learning something that makes you more likely to experience joy and thriving in the future, or you are cutting yourself down and down until you are going to relive that same pain over and over again. And you know exactly what I mean because you are adults. And at some point in your life, you buried somebody, a parent, a sibling, a friend. And you know what it's like to know that you will probably never get to ask that person, hey, do you think you could tell me that you forgive me for this thing I said to you? It bothers me. I think about it sometimes. This is why I say that grief is especially hurtful towards people who are neurodivergent, neurospicy. We hold on to things. Hi, Tim. I'm in Virginia. This is Virginia. We let, oh, hey, ET Lizard, sorry. Thank you. I'm glad you like the song. I'm going to play it one more time. We'll play I Left You an Altar. I wrote it for a friend. We all know what it's like to have to go into the future knowing that person's never going to say to you, you know, man, let it go. I don't even think about that. I don't know why you do. Yeah, you said a stupid thing. Yeah, you tripped and fell and embarrassed yourself. Yeah, you did this or that. You know, I can't believe you're still thinking about that. I haven't thought about that in years. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we could go and retrieve those from the dead? Maybe imagining it would even help you. I don't know. Go for it. Couldn't hurt. But the fact of the matter is, burying the past is simple when you realize that it is the past and you can't change it and it doesn't even exist anymore. And the only thing you can choose right now is what's going to change in the future. And that realization, far from being something that feels, again, to your brain that has this skill set of remembering, oh, this is the technology for how you make the spear point. This is the technology for how you make a spreadsheet. This is how we survive. This is how you're going to thrive. This is how you're going to do it by remembering how to get, by retaining it. It's the same technology going on in your brain that tells you, you really are a piece of shit. You know that? I can't believe you'd say that to your mom. I can't believe you'd say that. I can't believe you did that and hurt your best friend. Now he's dead. You can't do anything to get his forgiveness. That part of your brain that holds on to the past, that calls you a piece of shit over and over again, that part of your brain is just trying to protect you. It's just trying to help you. It doesn't understand. It understands this is a process we learned as children. It is a child's logic. It is a child's processing. And while Christians may say, as Paul, when I was a boy, I thought as a boy, but some people will say, as Jesus says, I should start it this way. Scratch that. I said, like Jesus said, that you must become as little children to inherit the kingdom of God. No, there's no kingdom of God. And children are born innocent. There's nothing they have to be forgiven of. And there's no heaven for them to go to any more than there is for you or I. At the end of the day, we are all children. But what makes us grown-ups, makes us adults, is that we take responsibility. That's it. That feeling that says, gosh, I hope nobody figures out that I was left home alone with the keys to the car and the credit card and the internet and the ability to do or order anything that I want. I can order porn. Do you know I can order pizza? I can order as much pizza. I got a $5,000 credit limit on this Amex card. Do you know how much pizza that buys? That voice inside your head that says, gosh, does anybody know I'm not really a grown-up? Congratulations. That's you. That is the grown-up version of you. It's that inner sage. I talked about this last year. I did a sermon about the sage. That you must envision your own sage. And you can make that sage, whatever feels right to you, you can make that sage Yoda if you want. You can make that sage, Captain Picard was the one that I used in that sermon, though honestly, most of my life it was probably Yoda. That voice of reason that answers that intuitive voice in your head that says over and over again, you really aren't able to do this. You think you're such hot shit. But you're not. You're just, where are you going, Twix? Our cat is going over to the neighbor's yard. Oh, are you really? Oh, good girl, Twix. I got some forgiveness work to do. Twix! She goes where she wants. She does what she wants. But what was I saying? Sorry. Got distracted by the cat. Yeah, true enough. I like that. Whoops. Yeah, they changed things on StreamYard. Sorry. True enough. The thing is that I'm picking up where I left off, I think. Being alive and moving into the future, it's as much about forgiving yourself and forgiving other people as it is about making better choices. That process is difficult because it means actually rewiring the way your brain works, right? You're familiar with the concept of neuroplasticity. Better run, girl. She knows what she's doing. Your brain has to actually prune back those nerves that in your brain, those nerve cells that are learning the repeatable things. Back down. It's a good comment, though. Thank you. Thanks for making comments, guys. And thanks for liking and subscribing and sharing if you don't do that. People hold on to things because these tendrils of nerves in our brains, they don't know how to do anything else. You have to build a new one. You have to build a new one for the process. And that's got to make sense to you. That's why, again, I say religion becomes so stupidly lazy and easy, because you have this box that you go into the box, and then there's a priest there, and you tell the priest something that he's going to jerk off to later, probably, maybe, I don't know, whatever. And it's like you do that process again and again and again, believing that the magic is in the box, the magic is in the person, the magic is in their authority, the magic is in this connection, the spirituality, and some practice they do, which makes them holy. And you want to believe that is a process that will allow you to release things. The truth is, it's entirely psychosomatic. It's entirely a placebo effect. It is just putting your trust in something external to yourself to do the work, so that you don't have to actually become a better person. Becoming a good person just means it's a good one. You got ET Lizard showing up with the good comments here. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. That it is the F word. But worse than that, I think atonement is the most toxic idea I think I can think of. This idea that you are meant to be one with God, but because you're a piece of shit, you don't get to be. You are meant to be with your family forever, but because you violated rule number such and such according to this man in a dress somewhere, which is fine if he wears a dress. He does wear a dress. Some of them. Because this man said this one thing one time, or many times, now you have to come back to the church. Now you have to pay a little more tithing. Now you got to put a little more, obedience, and you got to make sure the children see it. You got to make sure that your loved ones see it. You got to let the world know you belong to this club and not to any of these clubs, and that you think this club is the best and those clubs are. You have to do all of this in service, this free work in service of something, so that you can have a place where you can go and set your pain down, set the guilt aside, and not do any of the work. Not do any of the work of actually becoming a better person. You can pray 1,000 Hail Marys. You can pray 1,000,000 Our Fathers, and none of them are going to make you a better person. You can get baptized again and again and again and again, and guess how many times it makes you a good person? Not once. You become a better person when you act better, when you act smarter. And that's not just about breaking rules. What rules? It's about thriving. It's as much forgiving yourself to learn how to eat, for example. I can't tell you how many people, how shocking it was to me when I was married and had my first long-term relationship with a woman, was being married. And I was married for 20 years. And listening to her description about eating disorders, hers or women around her, and then raising a daughter and seeing eating disorders, her having to battle with eating disorders from disturbingly young age, as these girls look into the world and see what bodies are supposed to look like, and then told this toxic messaging about nutrition that's not even true. And I say it's like learning how to eat. If you don't eat, who do you sin against? If you eat and then you purge, who do you sin against? There's no commandment in the Bible I know of that says that you can't do that you shouldn't do that. I don't know of anybody's God who has a rule against eating disorders, but they have rules against saying swears. They have rules against keeping graven images. They have rules, which, by the way, at one point, and I'm sure at some point still, that meant including things like some of the best painters in the world who were Jewish had to deal with the fact that they had to hide their fascination with painting from their family, because the painting was forbidden, because it was making graven images of things that are in the earth. I was a painter before I knew that. It's so, there's these toxic rules. And then what about, though, you should learn how to let yourself just eat. Learn how to think of your body as you, because if your body is not you, what the hell is? And that for me, that's healing that prayer was never going to solve. That's healing that repentance was never going to solve. That's not, unless God comes down and appears to you, or speaks in your ear and gives you and speaks to you with his voice. And if that happens, got news for you. Now you got schizophrenia or something to deal with. You're having a psychotic break, or you are just talking to yourself and it's loud. Is a fine line. I'm not really even sure. I don't know that anybody knows where that line is. You should take it seriously. Taking your medication. Got depression. Who do you sin against if you don't take antidepressants? I know Christians. I know many Christians who think that if you have depression, it's a sin to take antidepressants. Who do you believe? What is it supposed to be? Why is God so determined to make you miserable that he would actually make it a sin for you to do something that made your life more bearable? It's because it was never God's to begin with. It was the church. He was the charlatan. Charlatan's got bills to pay. So he's got to sell you an idea of guilt that is toxic from the beginning. This is why sin was so stupid. This is why salvation is silly. Is because it teaches people to think of their lives and what they do as being shame. Shame as a tool of progress. Shame as a tool of self-reflection. Shame as a tool for saving yourself, when there is no such thing as saving shame. Shame only destroys. Shame is only toxic. It is that guilt that you latch onto because your brain latches onto it for whatever reason. It's comfortable. You have autism or obsessive compulsive disorder. And somebody out there is willing to abuse it, guaranteed, to make money off of you, to get you to join their ranks and let them advertise to the world that they're the fastest growing, blah, 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 and more people, blah, blah, blah. And boy, the gospel is blah, 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 blah. They are using you in service of shame and toxicity and telling you it's good for you. It's not. If it were good for you, it would be making you into a better person. And then you would let go of it. Because you can't carry this all your life. I opened this by talking about my best friend, Paul Hudson, who passed in 2020 from COVID. It was his greatest fear. You remember 2020, right? That was his greatest fear at that time, was that he would get COVID. And he did. It wasn't but 2 weeks, maybe 3. He was gone. I wasn't ready for that. I realized in hindsight that over the course of the 17 years, 18 years that Paul and I had been friends, I had reached the age that he was when I met him. And so many of his friends started to pass away. Men in their late 40s, early 50s, heart disease, drinking, accidents, and choosing to leave this world. Yeah. Now I live in it. I'm 46 years old this August. And now I'm living that hell. And over again, I keep thinking back how hard it was on Paul to grieve these people. And how understanding that my grief as an atheist was so much healthier than my grief as a Mormon, as a Christian, as a believer. And I'm grateful that it was me grieving Paul and not the other way around. And right around this time, I made a friend. I didn't expect to make. Reached out to me just as a friend because his son took his own life. And over, he sees in his life how it is destroying his life. The grief that doesn't solve. It doesn't go away on its own, right? And that's when I started to think over and again to myself, this world around us needs to develop a skill. We as human beings, we need something like the Church of Korihor to teach a skill set of learning to build that tendril in your brain, learning to build that process in your brain that is an automatic apply new settings and delete process. And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It doesn't have to look like going into a confessional box. If that idea just disgusts you outright, good. I don't blame you. Me too. Get rid of it. If it appeals to you, okay, what does your confessional box look like? Is it, out in nature? Is it, is it writing it down? Whatever the process is, only you know if the process is working. And if for you the process is working, then it's working and you don't need anything else. You don't need any other validation from me or anybody else. If it works for you, then it works. Remind yourself that it works. Brett Hartley and I had a great conversation when I started the Church of Korihor. It's recorded. You guys can watch it on the channel here. We talked about ritual and about how atheists often neglect ritual because we don't think it works, because we don't believe in magic, because we don't believe in Sky Daddy, right? But there's a reason why religion developed ritual, because ritual could do a thing that doctrine can't. Ritual can do a thing that commandments can't, that priesthood can't. Ritual can do a thing, and that is to use your body and your mind, use this physical being that you are in some way that feels like progress. And that feeling, if we do believe, as William James said in Varieties of Religious Experience, the spiritual experience is a point that begins and ends in time. And that is awesome, ephemeral. It is without description. It defies description. If there is an experience that you come out of completely changed, he said, you shouldn't even, he told, he was the father of American psychology, they called it. He told psychotherapists then and now, he says, don't try to duplicate that. Therapy can't do it. That was his position. Who knows if it's right or not, but I think there's something to it. He says, that is something that talk therapy will never do. That is something that medication can never do. That spiritual change, it's that moment, having that experience that you come out of better. Every moment that you are grieving the dead can be that spiritual moment. It can be that moment where you emerge without something you didn't even realize maybe you were carrying, something that you were carrying while that person was alive and you thought they would never forgive you for it. Whatever it is, they're gone. You're here. The only part of them that was ever real to you is the one inside your mind. True, they were out there in the world, physically, in the real world, in the external world. Sure, probably. As much as we can be sure anything is, right? Guess what? They're not anymore. They're gone. The only version of them that was really real to your mind, to your brain, to your nervous system is still there, feels like it's still there, because it's that version of them, that image of them that you were interacting with inside your mind. It remains. They are gone. But that means that any relationship you are going to have with them going into the future that affects your relationships with everything, your friendship, your love affects everything. Think about how it is. Think about how many marriages get wrecked because a spouse made friends with somebody that the other spouse disapproved of for whatever reason. How many marriages and how many families become destroyed because of political differences? The last 2 years, 3 years really, of my relationship with Paul, we almost never spoke to each other. I loved him like a brother. And it hurt me every time because as he became more and more politically aligned to the MAGA movement, we had less and less to talk about. We had less and less that we could politely say to each other. And more than once, I had to put down the phone and walk away to say, I can't believe Paul just said that to me. And then I would get a reminder from his wife, who was dear to me also and is now passed as well. And say, you remember, Joe, that Paul's sick. He doesn't know he said that. She was a good woman. And those years were hell for her. See, sorry. Paul was a filmmaker like me. Didn't fail as badly as I did. And he fell off of a camera crane. He crushed his skull when he was younger. After that, his epilepsy became really bad. And when he would have a seizure, when he was going into a seizure and when he was coming out of it, oftentimes his behavior would change so erratically, he didn't even realize that it was happening. And he had to live with the aftermath. And as he aged, it started to spiral out of control. Until people couldn't talk to him anymore. He estranged his children. He estranged his siblings. He estranged his parents. He tried again and again to recover and recuperate from it, but the illness was too strong. Eventually, he pushed even me away. I've told this story before, so I'm sorry if you're hearing it again. One day I was flying for a client. I think I want to say I was in Chicago O'Hare, but I don't know why I want to think I was in Dallas. I don't know, maybe because he was in Dallas. I don't know. And I got a text message that said, Joe, I'm so sorry. I love you. I had gotten a new phone number, so I texted back and said, new phone, and said, oh, thank you, stranger. New phone. Who this? And he asked me, you don't know who this is? And he said, I saw the things I said to you. I don't know who that person is. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And I just texted him back and said, Paul, I know. I forgive you. Don't worry about it. I love you back. We talked maybe 3 times in those last few years because of a political difference that was mostly born from this man who I had every reason to politically agree with when we were together, when we were friends. I'm convinced, it's not a political statement or endorsement, but I'm convinced that his illness is what caused him to become so passionate about MAGA. I saw it again and again, not just in him, but in others. And I thought many times how this is a political movement made of our not dealing with our emotional and mental illness. It's a sign. It's a symptom. And then in 2020, he messaged me, said, Joe, I'm in the hospital. I said, I know. I've been talking to Lizette. He said, I want you to make sure she's taken care of when I'm gone. He said, I promise I will. I love you, Paul, I said. You know you're a brother to me. You know what? You always will be. And he said, I know. The last thing I said to him was, don't you fucking die on me, man. He said, I'm trying not to. It was 12 hours before he was gone. This is our life. I'm going to play one more time the hymn for you guys, the new one. I want you to think about this process. I decided instead of writing it up like a sermon or like another TikTok post, that I would write it as a song. That sometimes I'm just better at that stuff. And I sent it to a friend who was grieving over and over in his life that his own son had taken his own life years ago, just to give him something. Don't call it a ritual if that's too much for you, if that's too heady. But if you don't do it this way, if you don't do this, if it doesn't inspire you to do this process, I would encourage you to find something that works and to trust yourself and to know your feelings, to go inside of yourself and ask yourself, is this helping? And do it again and again. Let it go. You have to give it to the fire. You have to. For them and for you. Amen.
I left you an altar In the echo of goodbye, I left you a place for my last pain to die. What remains of me, you carry with you. My only torment is what you put you through. Do you think I'd curse you to live through this hell? You laid me to rest, laid my pain down as well. Place this one thing upon a pyre, because you love me, give into the fire. If you forgive me, there's no need to pray. I left you an altar, burn our guilt away. I was my own person, let me choose for me. This is too much for us. Oh, please set us free. I know you miss me, but I am not this pain. We can't outlive it until you give it away. If I was standing here, would you let us start anew? Please bury this, release it from you. Place this one thing upon our pyre, because you love me, give it to the fire. If you forgive me, there's no need to pray. I left you an altar, burn our guilt away. Maybe there's a place where we will meet again. Let's not chance it, now's as good as then. It's okay to leave some and keep it with you. This altar will burn until it's all consumed.